Hello everybody, Mannix here. Got another tabletop knife review for you right here, right now. Feel free to subscribe, hit that little bell notification if you do not want to miss any weekly knife, gear, gun, lighter, flashlight videos. Support me on Patreon, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get right into this bad boy. This is going to be on the Cold Steel Counterpoint. Counterpoint XL, specifically. This is one of those Cold Steels that kind of went under the radar for me for a long time, almost a decade, when I first got into the XL-sized Cold Steels. This one, I would see it time and time again, but I never pulled the trigger on it. I don't know what it was. I didn't mind the way it looked. There was nothing in particular I disliked about it, but I don't know why. It didn't dawn on me. Never chose to buy it. Got pretty much every other XL-sized folder in my hand, almost all of them, but this is one I just never chose to buy. Now, lately, I've been trying to deliberately collect all of the extra large size Cold Steel folders, and naturally, I just had to pick this one up because it did not have it, and it grew on me. I actually really, really like it now. It's styled like a boot knife. This one happens to be, again, the XL knife, so it's kind of a very, very large boot knife, but a boot knife style folder nonetheless. There is also the Counterpoint 1 and the Counterpoint 2, the 1 being the 4-inch blade, and the 2 being the 3-inch blade. So if that wasn't confusing enough, they call this one the XL. So we have the 1, the 2, and the XL. So I guess as far as like length goes, it would go XL 1, then 2, from largest to smallest. Kind of weird how they worded that, but regardless, this is still a kick-ass knife. It's very symmetrical overall. Of course, it's not literally symmetrical, but almost. I like that about the handle. I like this dagger style blade. Technically, not a dagger would have a fully sharpened edge on the spine, but stiletto style blade, you can call that, with a swedge right here that is unsharpened, but it kind of looks like a dagger from afar. Spear point style blade right here. Very, very good piercing blade. It's all about piercing. And of course, you do have a little bit of belly to work with too, but mainly it's going to be a piercing defensive tool, also because of its size. If you just want that piercing, but not just for defense, you can step down to the smaller ones, but I do like the novelty of having such a huge knife right here, which is why I'm collecting all the XL Cold Steel. So again, this one's styled like a boot knife, but again, from afar, it kind of looks like a mini medieval sword or something like that. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, or a dagger, which is really cool. Absolutely a functional knife. It's very thick compared to the other Cold Steels, which already are pretty thick across the board. This one just like sets it over the top. It's one of the thickest handled Cold Steel folders I think they have. It's very, very, very thick, very substantial, very hand-filling, lot to hold on to. Let's get the specs out of the way. 6-inch, full 6-inch blade on here. That is massive. Handle length is 7.125 inches, making the overall length 13.125 inches. They say it weighs 7.9 ounces. We'll see about that. A US-10AA blade steel on these newer versions. They went through a couple of different revisions, maybe one revision, but modern day, early 2023, this is the version you will get if you purchase a new in-box Cold Steel XL Counterpoint. Grivex handle scales right here. Flush mounted stainless steel liners, which are skeletonized. You can see them. Also through the holes of the handle, which makes the whole thing a little bit more light, a little bit more aerodynamic, technically speaking. Triad lock. One of the strongest locking mechanisms in the world. It's a lockback with an integral stop pin. I already have a video explaining this guy, but there are other videos out there. It's an extremely, extremely, extremely strong locking mechanism. No jimping on the spine right here. It's kind of a mess, but not that I really care that much. It's just such a hand-filling, thick-ass handle in the first place. I don't really care that much. We have a nice thumb ramp here. Nice little guard right here. Cylindrical dual thumb studs. That's great. This knife is fully ambidextrous. You can swap the pod clip to the left side right there. It's their squared-off clip. It's similar to what they put on their Tough Light. Not quite the same, but similar. Just a symmetrical style clip right here instead of their typical curved ones they use. I like it. It's a little bit on the tighter side like a lot of their clips are, but it's not too bad. Keep in mind, this is very grippy. I love this pattern they have on the Grivex. It is very grippy. It almost has a skateboard tape-like feel to it. A lot of traction. And it is fast. Yes, it is a lockback style folder, so it's not going to be as fast as other options out there. But for the strength you're getting, for the firepower, for that lock, it's extremely, extremely fast, actually. You need just a little bit of a wrist flick, but the momentum of the blade will help swing it out. You can go all the way down here if you want to grip it. You can go into a mid grip, and then you can choke up right here. I personally wouldn't go any higher than that. You're getting a little close to that cutting edge. But speaking of the cutting edge, I do like how we have a nice, crisp, clean cut right there. You can see exactly where it starts. They have a very distinct choil right there instead of having the blade kind of meld into the edge from the unsharpened portion. I don't like it when they do that. Cold steel sometimes does it, but on this one they didn't, so I'm glad they did that. Satin finish on the blade. I like the different angles we have the grinds on. As you can see, it's just very, very sexy looking. Looks two-tone. It carries well. There's a decent amount poking out of your pocket right here, but you kind of want that for larger knives typically. So not too bad, actually. That's actually fine. I do kind of like how the lanyard's in the middle right there. It's cool looking. Again, somewhat of a symmetrical looking knife overall. For a folder anyway. Folders can't really be fully symmetrical as far as I know, but pretty close. Very, very long knife here with a full 6-inch blade. And that blade shape, it is nothing to be laughed at. It's very strong, accompanied by that tri-lock. A lot to hold on to. It's very thick. Very good side traction right here. A little bit heavy, but not too heavy. But it is just Grivex rather than G10. Usually, if you would make G10 scales this thick, they start to get very, very heavy. You use stainless steel, good night, that would be extremely heavy. But it's actually not too bad. Feels relatively balanced. Not the most balanced, but it's balanced enough. Again, a lot of that is coming from this thick, thick, thick handle we have right here. I do like how the edges are rounded right here for where the lock bar is, which also has that satin finish, which mimics the blade. It's very good looking. One of the reasons I kind of shied away from this one for so long is because it's not the most versatile. I will admit that. Again, it's a very good piercer, but it doesn't really excel at too much else. Yeah, you can certainly use it in a lot of different ways. We have a good strong blade, great for piercing. It's not going to be a whole lot of resistance there because we have that swedge, and it is a good looking knife. You're going to just have to like that kind of symmetrical medieval style dagger, whatever you want to call it, aesthetic we have going here. But collection wise, it is very purposeful. I absolutely do like it a lot. Again, I love those thumb studs. You can open it conventionally. Just like all the cold steels, it's very smooth, very fast for the strength you're getting. And again, what sets this one over the top from the other cold steels, we have such a thick handle right here. And I do like the holes in there. It's very good looking, I think. Let's just weigh this sucker. They're saying it is 7.9 ounces. Maybe, let's see about that. Let's just see what my scale says, just for craps and giggles right here. We are at 8.47 ounces. Ooh, a little heavier. Kind of was thinking that. It felt kind of heavy to me, so a little over half an ounce heavier than what their website is claiming. Cold Steel's not always correct about their weights, but a lot of knife companies aren't usually. I don't know really why that is, but so it is heavy, but again, for this size knife, what do you really expect? Let's talk about the blade steel, AUS-10A. I really, really like that steel. I already am a fan of AUS-8, including AUS-8A, but AUS-10A has more carbon content in it. Long story short, I say it is a better blade steel. It is an upgrade from the AUS-8A. So I do really, really like it. Good edge retention. Gets razor sharp. The way Cold Steel does their sharpening, they're one of the... They easily make their blades extremely, extremely sharp out of the box. We have okay rust and corrosion resistance, but not great. This is kind of how the AUS-8, AUS-10, etc. series, whatever you want to call that, AUS series kind of goes. But it's more on the affordable side. It does keep costs down. These retail at $149.99, but across the board, you can get these for closer to $80. I think that's absolutely worth it. And again, that blade still is going to help keep the costs down just a little bit. You throw their S35VN on there, ooh, if you're going to be paying closer to maybe $140, $150, the retail will be the aftermarket price, pretty much, as we've seen with a lot of their cold steels. So just keep that in mind. I really like the AUS-10A. I think it's a great option, not just for affordability, but because it's on the softer side in comparison to the S35VN. Although our edge retention won't be as good, it won't chip or crack on us as easily, and this style knife looks like it's meant to be a very, very hard-use knife, considering how thick that handle is, too. Anyway, let's give this a quick comparison before I head out to two other XL-sized cold steel folders that I think are appropriately similar in some aspects. Let's just get those pocket clips showing. A more expensive option, the Cold Steel Holdout 1. Speaking of the devil, it's got that S35VN blade steel on there, but we have G10 handle scales instead. No steel liners. Similar pocket clip. Not the same. It's a little bit longer. A little less poking out of your pocket. This one's going to be a little bit more covert overall. A lot more slim, that's for sure, and a lot more lightweight. Because again, we don't have a steel liner Grivex fest going on with this guy. But again, not as thick and not as much to hold on to. This definitely feels a little bit more balanced. Actually, it's extremely balanced, that weight. This guy feels not quite as balanced. But not too bad either. It's just me kind of nitpicking. But it's similar in some ways, because again, they're both somewhat symmetrical knives. We have a flat grind on this one. Even more simple. This is already kind of a simple design, but it's even more simple. We don't have the guards and the holdout like we do on the Counterpoint. And let's throw in one more blade here, the Tylite 6 or Tylite 6-inch. A lot more slim, that's for sure, but as far as the girth of the handle goes, it's actually pretty close to the Counterpoint right there. But again, it's another almost symmetrical style blade. Same length. All these knives are the same length, I believe, more or less. They all have 6-inch blades. Even thinner blade, although it is similar in some ways. They both got sweated. It's kind of like you took this guy and squeezed it down a bit. Going to be a little bit better for piercing, but not as strong as a tip. You have less belly right here. It's not going to be as versatile. This is all piercing knife. Same materials. We have the Grivex and the stainless steel liners, but we have very different textures, very different patterns and designs. Liner lock is at a triad, so as far as strength goes, this guy already loses. But we have a lot of speed right here. You don't need any wrist movement. Bang. This guy, let's try it without wrist movement. Yeah, it's not going to work as well. It's not a big deal. It's just a smidge, but it is something to consider. And this guy's considerably cheaper. This guy's considerably more expensive than the two of these, but you do have a better blade steel. AUS-8A on this one, actually, so not quite as good of a blade steel, I would argue, than that. But it's in the ballpark. It's close. There's a couple other Colts that are somewhat similar, but I think these are their most symmetrical style folders right here. So I think it's an appropriate comparison, showing these two guys next to the Counterpoint. But enough about you two. The Counterpoint is the star of this show. Anyway, that's it. It's a really cool knife. It's not my favorite cold steel. Just I think it's a little bit limited in its uses, and it is very chunky. It's a bit heavy, but it's not terribly expensive. You get a lot for your money if you really like this style knife aesthetically, or if you're going for something that's going to be just very good for piercing. You want that strength. You want something a little bit more versatile, and a little bit stronger than the Tylite. You don't mind spending the extra money, but you don't want to spend as much as the Holdout. I think the Counterpoint XL is the way to go. It's a really, really good knife, functionally speaking. It's just kind of niche, but I still really like it. Really, really like this knife. It's very, very cool. So that's why I bought it. Anyway, that's it. Counterpoint XL.